Hello and welcome to Rise and Unwind. My name is Dan. You know, each and every week we talk to people from across the country about things you can do in this neighborhood of yours. And on this week's show, we got this.
It's really important to have that comprehensive eye exam. We can pick up any eye diseases at that visit, but we can also tell a lot about your total body health.
All of that and more right here on the show we like to call Rise and Unwind. Every January, a lot of us say the same thing. Man, this is the year we're gonna eat better. But between work, workouts, and real life, those plans could fall apart fast. So joining us today is Dawn Jackson Blatner, a registered dietitian and nutritionist who's helped everyone from professional athletes to busy families make smarter food choices that actually stick. Welcome to the show, Dawn. How are you, my friend?
Oh, thank you so much for having me. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you, and that's what we're talking about, New Year's health goals. We've all made them. What's one of the biggest reasons that you feel like they don't last, and how do we fix that?
Yes. It's resolution season. People go in with these big changes and big ideas, and oftentimes by the second week of January, they're out the window. And this really is because the opposite of what people think actually works. So instead of big changes, it's small changes, and they are called micro habits. So it's stuff like an extra glass of water before your cup of coffee in the morning, or focus on a little more protein at breakfast, or add a 5-minute walk after lunch. It's simple little things that people think aren't going to make a big difference. But what's magical about it is that it's small and you can stay consistent with it. And all of a sudden that consistency leads to momentum, lots of healthy momentum.
So if somebody wants to eat better without overhauling their entire routine, what are some nutrition staples that you say should stay in the kitchen?
Oh, here's the good thing. Okay, so you're only as healthy as your last trip to the grocery store. So what are you going to buy when you're there? And there's a cool social media trend called the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 grocery plan, where you go to the store and you buy 5 different types of colorful fruits and vegetables, 4 different types of protein foods, and that could be like eggs and yogurt and beans and tuna, 3 different types of healthy carbs, 2 different types of healthy fats, and a dessert. And bottom line, you bring all that home, and now you have the staples to mix and match for healthy, balanced meals and snacks.
Yeah, I tend to go to the frozen section, but frozen fried food, frozen fried food, frozen fried food. I guess I got to learn about this train your plate. What does that look like in everyday life, my friend?
Yeah, okay, so I like this train your plate. And, even if you are in the frozen aisle, at the end of the day, it's small little micro habits. So it's like, okay, maybe I could stop by and get some fruits and vegetables to go with that. So it doesn't have to be overwhelming. And train your plate is sort of the idea that, people think about going to the gym to train and be strong, but what you put on your plate can actually make you strong and feel energized. And you start with protein on your plate, round it out with colorful produce, and make sure there's some carbs on there for energy. And it really does make you feel good. And another saying that I like to throw around because it's very powerful is that champions do not wing it, they plan it. So just a tiny bit of meal prep, nothing overwhelming, tiny bit, can actually make healthy eating feel so much easier.
Champions do not wing it. Okay, I like that. That's probably the reason why I'm not a champion. But
You're a champion in my book. You're a champion in my book.
Well, thank you for that. And let's talk about meal prep. I hear about it. I've seen people do it. It gets talked about a lot. But does that mean hours in the kitchen? And how do we make that realistic?
Yes, please do not meal prep with taking over your whole weekend and hours. You got to keep it simple. That's the key to meal prep actually working. So I have 2 ideas for you to start. The first one, protein pancake bowls. So craveable, delicious, easy to make with eggs, yogurt, some oats, some fruit. You mix it up and make 4 of these pancakes, so then you can keep them in the fridge. And on a busy morning, you just pop in the fridge and you can take one of these pancake bowls and you get 30 grams of protein. And I also like to prep snacks. So I call these my fitness snack packs. And it's egg, cheese, a little whole grain pretzel, fruit, and I make a bunch of these little packs, keep them in the fridge, and when I'm heading out the door, I put one in my bag so that in between meals, I'm eating something that actually energizes me. And anytime I'm doing something simple like these meal prep ideas, I'm always starting with Eggland's Best Eggs because they are the champion of nutrition. 10 times more vitamin E, 6 times more vitamin D, 25% less saturated fat than your ordinary egg. So it's an ingredient that actually ups the nutrition in whatever you're making.
Eggland's Best. They put the yum in champion. Wait, I don't know if that sounds... Okay.
I think we're taking that. That sounds perfect.
I also hear that there's a sweepstakes connected to this. What's included and how can people enter and be part of that?
I mean, sweepstakes. That is high vibe, so much fun. And here's what's going on. Eggland's Best is teaming up with Olympic gold medalist Katie Ledecky. And they're helping families just eat like champions, and all starting with a better for you egg. And part of their partnership is called the Eggland's Best Champion Sweepstakes. And right now, through March 10th, you can go to ebfamilysweeps.com and enter daily for a chance to win the grand prize, which is $5,000 and swag signed by Katie Ledecky herself.
Excellent. All right, if viewers want to find out more tips, maybe learn some recipes, where should they go?
I like that you said excellent. Very, very well done. So here's where you go. It's ebfamilysweeps.com. It's the sweepstakes where there's no purchase necessary, and the recipe for the protein pancake bowls and the fitness snack packs also there.
Hey, I got enough puns that it would be considered a punishment. No, that's all I got.
Oh, stop being so punny. You're so punny.
All right. Dawn, I want to thank you for joining me this morning.
Thank you so much, and have a happy and healthy new year.
Have you ever watched a true crime show and wondered, where's the line between justice and entertainment? There's a new documentary called Predators that takes a hard look at Dateline's To Catch a Predator and the world that grew around it. Emmy and Peabody award-winning director David Osit is pulling back the curtain on the show's legacy and what it says about us as viewers. David, I want to thank you for being here, my friend. How are you?
Good. Thanks for having me.
Okay, for people who only remember To Catch a Predator as a big TV moment, how do you describe what Predators is really about?
My film is really unpacking the legacy of this show, which was this segment on Dateline NBC in the 2000s that would set up a hidden camera in a sting house where men who were having online chats of a sexual nature with decoys who were pretending to be minors would then show up to a house, meet the decoys, then meet a journalist named Chris Hansen. He'd then interview them. Being filmed by hidden cameras, tell them that they were being filmed on a TV show, that they were free to go, but then they'd be arrested by law enforcement. This happened hundreds of times. The show was a sensation. And we really weren't very critical about what was happening when this was airing because we'd never seen anything like it before. This existed on the internet back when everyone was fluent in the internet, but before social media. So we really were just exploring this new phenomenon as far as we were concerned. At the time of just, wow, the internet's a scary place. And we found a way to enjoy this news program. Now, I think that what happened then is that we created a template for modern true crime, which is that you have journalism and law enforcement working together to create some type of entertainment. And that's really one of the legacies of To Catch a Predator.
So when you started digging into the story, what surprised you most about how the show actually worked behind the scenes?
I think when I started to really understand one particular element of the show, it sort of stood out to me, which is that these men were already able to be charged with a crime before they ever showed up to the sting house. The crime is online solicitation of a minor, but then they show up at the house and they could be arrested right then and there, but instead they're interviewed by a journalist who's not telling them who he is necessarily, and then they're filmed, and then they're told they're free to go, and then they're arrested. So all of that part, that middle part, is kind of theater, and it's all for us to watch at home. So when I started to think about that, I started to realize, well, there is a huge component of this that's really just entertainment. And it's not the first time in the world where you reach people and give people something to watch, and then that moves the needle on a national conversation. But how does that then shift into maybe potentially that kind of entertainment becoming used more flippantly, more randomly, and disregarding potentially the human cost of what that entertainment creates? Those are some of the questions I liked to get into when I made the film.
And the film really leans into some ethical gray areas. You got the stings, the cameras, the way audience reacted. What are some of the biggest questions that you wanted viewers to wrestle with when they watch this?
To be completely honest with you, one thing I'm really eager for viewers to wrestle with in terms of questions is actually just how they feel watching the show, or my show rather. I'm a documentary filmmaker. I'm also asking people to consider certain things about, what do I do for a living? What do all of us do for a living when we're telling people's stories? There's some things in my film that are hard to watch. There's some things in my film that I think will make you laugh There's a big journey in this story because I'm asking you to consider kind of what your own line is of where you'll draw the line between whether something is too much about entertainment or whether something's good intentions justify it being entertaining. And we don't have answers to that. Everyone has their own answer to that question. We all kind of have our own line in the sand about what we think. Well, it's actually more like a line in asphalt because it really is hard to change how we feel about whether something is right or wrong. And we don't like it when people try to change it for us, I've noticed in society. So my film's kind of about asking those questions and asking you, how do you feel when you watch some of this material? How does it make you feel?
And you talked to some former decoys, the host, and people who were directly affected by the show. Was there a particular interview or moment that changed the way you saw this whole phenomenon?
Not one particular interview or moment, although I spent time talking to Chris Henson in the film and many of the decoys who were involved in the story. All of it was very interesting and compelling to me, and in part made me think again about, well, I'm, for example, asking some people in the film to recollect some pretty hard moments. There was an incident of a man in Texas who took his own life when the camera crews and the police came to his house to arrest him for the sting. To Catch a Predator, and I interviewed some people who were involved with that story, and I asked them to bring up, some hard memories. And I remember thinking to myself, wow, like I hope I'm not traumatizing these people. But again, those are the kind of questions that I think you only start asking when you're thinking about what are the ethics of making stories out of people's lives. Documentaries have been doing that for years. True crime's been doing that for years. But this film's really not just about To Catch a Predator, but it's about the ethics of how we tell stories.
And as you were saying, that true crime is bigger than ever right now. After making Predators, how do you hope people think differently about the shows and content that they are choosing to watch and their role as an audience?
Not to sound like a broken record, but I don't want to tell people specifically what I want them to think, because that's our problem, I think, in our society, is that we've got a lot of people telling you all the time what you should think about something. And I just want you to go on a journey with this movie. I designed it so that it challenges the way you feel at all times about what you're watching and looking at. And there's going to be times when you're uncomfortable, and there's going to be times when the person sitting next to you, who you thought was your BFF, might be making you uncomfortable because they disagree with you or you disagree with them. But I think that is the hard thing about being a human being, is that sometimes we disagree with each other. It doesn't mean we are wrong. It means we're just complicated. And this is a show about trying to take complication away. There's good guys and bad guys. And I do think the world is more complicated than that. It's not about defending child predators. It's not about making you feel bad for them. It's about asking you to consider, how do we treat people?
David, I want to thank you for joining me today. Predators is now streaming on Paramount Plus. So if you remember To Catch a Predator or just want a smarter take on true crime, this is one to check out. David Osit, thank you so much once again for joining me today.
Thanks for having me.
Do you ever watch a trailer to instantly wonder what really happened behind the scenes? You know, The Mighty Oaks is one of those films, a survival story with heart, grit, and a little mystery woven in. It lands on VOD and DVD on December 9th, and today we've got two key voices behind it. Filmmaker Brendan Hardy and producer Brad Ledwith. Welcome to the show, you two. How are you, my friends?
Thank you so much for having us, Dan. We're having a great time.
All right. I'm glad you're having a great time because I'm off to a terrible start this morning. My brain is frazzled, and I guess for the people that are just hearing about it, what is The Mighty Oaks really about, kind of at its core?
I think that the story of The Mighty Oaks is truly an opportunity for people to see lacrosse, tear the covers off of high school sports, and at the same time, accentuate the successes of an underdog team.
We have been talking about lacrosse a lot on the show lately. It's the
fastest growing sport.
Yeah. When you first stepped into the project, what grabbed you about the story, some of the characters, and the setting?
Brendan?
For me, it was, first and foremost, Brad's enthusiasm and the community that surrounded him. Tough to do a project like this if everybody's not, bought in and excited about it. And that's really the energy we had from the very beginning. And then to have the opportunity to, pull the curtain back and show what it's really like, to spend a season with these kids who are going through all the issues kids have, as well as trying to win a championship. From my perspective as a creator, it was an awesome opportunity, and we think it comes out in the final product.
And the dynamic between some of the characters or people in it did feel personal. Did you bring anything from your own personal lives or experience to kind of shape how you approach this movie?
Well, that's a great question, Dan. I think that I bring it to the sports. My own experiences of growing up playing baseball, football, basketball. I lost my dad at an early age, and I just, to me, being able to give back to my community, and my dad was a real involved in I remember him being president of the soccer team in the 70s. And honestly, it's one of those things that I remember him doing a lot for the program, and he didn't know anything about soccer. So the story of the Mighty Oaks, which you can find on Amazon Prime, which you can pre-order on Apple TV, December 9th it comes out. I'm telling you right now, if you buy this movie, if you like documentaries, you'll love it. If you like sports documentaries, you're going to think it wins an Oscar.
And the film digs into a little bit of loss, adoption, family grief. How did you approach telling some of these stories without getting too personal or exposing too much?
Well, we covered a lot of different stories. There's a whole women's aspect to this, and their varsity team as well. But some of the more personal stories, I think you just have to handle with sensitivity and a deft touch, but also keep it authentic. And I think if you do that, you have license to tell the stories and get support from the families, and humanizing this movie and making it not just a sports film, but something about the kids and really getting into some of the emotional aspects was important. And that's why we did it.
And telling a documentary, it may be a little difficult because Morgan Hill, they built this lacrosse program pretty much from scratch. What did you learn about the community, or how did you be able to get the community and the parents to support you in making this possible?
Brad's a juggernaut in the community. His enthusiasm is infectious. He's been around from day one. Really, we call him the godfather of lacrosse in the community, but what he really is one of the greatest supporters of it and givers of his time. That's what really got me into it.
All right, you two, I want to thank you two for joining me. You can check out The Mighty Oaks as it comes to streaming. I want to thank you two for joining me today.
Thanks, Dan. And listen, my story is the same all over the country, and Brendan told it very well.
Well, thank you too.
Thanks, Dan.
Ancient Aliens is back with new episodes on History Channel, and the conversation has jumped from your TV to the stage. The live show, Ancient Aliens Live, is touring the country, and joining us today is the face of the series, Giorgio Tsoukalos. Giorgio, it's good to see you, my friend. How are you?
Hi, Dan. Thank you so much for having me on, and I'm doing great. Thanks very much. How about you?
I'm doing good. For the fans out there who only know about the TV series, what does this Ancient Aliens Live deliver that you can't get from a single episode? Is there a moment from it, from doing it, that has kind of surprised you too?
Absolutely, because Ancient Aliens Live is something to give back to the fans, because only the fans have kept us on the air for so long. Because without an audience, you can't be on the air. So thanks to all the fans for keeping on our lights. And so as a thank you, we are crisscrossing the U.S. together with myself, Jason Martell, William Henry, and Nick Pope, some of the stars of the show. And we present essentially a 90-minute immersive Ancient Aliens episode with photos, videos, discussions, and a Q&A at the end with the audience. And so if you want to see how we interact with each other and what our banter is, and if you want to hear us speak in full sentences, then this is a fun night out on the town for the whole family. And it's a little roller coaster around the world full of adventure, exploring ancient mysteries. So come on down, check it out.
And the season feels bigger, with perspectives colliding, some new discoveries. In your words, what's new or evolved about Ancient Aliens right now?
Well, Ancient Aliens, we are now also covering modern aliens, because I've got news. They never left. They've always been here observing, because back then they were called the Watchers. Well, a watcher never stops watching. And so what were our ancestors referring to? They were referring to visiting extraterrestrials who imparted the first basics of science, mathematics, agriculture, engineering, all the medicine, all the astronomy, all these different things. And so I think that if you teach that to somebody, you never lose interest to observe their progress. And so I think that is what's going on right now. these increased UFO sightings up in the sky. I think it's them showing themselves slowly to illustrate, hey, you are not alone. And by the way, you've never been alone.
And skeptics are always asking for that like strongest piece of evidence. The one thing that you kind of point to and say, let's start here. What is it for you and why?
So long ago, I would have completely answered this question differently, and I would have rattled off a whole list of what I find concise evidence. However, over time, I learned that any skeptic in this is only ready to accept any of our propositions if they are ready for it. And so I don't care anymore if the skeptics agree with me or not. The evidence is there. I mean, I cannot tell you how many times I've been asked, I love ancient aliens, but how come you never show any evidence? Well, in the almost 300 episode we've done, it's all evidence. The evidence is in the episode. So this illustrates perfectly that what might be evidence to some is not evidence to someone else. And so time will tell. And I know that we are sitting on the right horse. And, we are in the paradigm shift already. I mean, if you would have told me 30 years ago, there would be congressional hearings in US Congress about UAPs and UFOs, I would have said, you know what? That would be wonderful, but it will never happen. And only last week, a few days ago, there was the third congressional hearing about UAP/UFOs in the halls of Congress. I mean, we live in the most extraordinary of times.
And you guys often connect mythology, history, traditions. Where do you draw that line between legend and historical data?
Well, the line is that it is a fact that any legend, any mythology has to be rooted in some type of a reality, because not a single idea is born out of a vacuum. And so if you have, biblical stories of, let's say, Ezekiel, who is taken up by this glowing glory of the Lord, as he calls it, but then it descends and he sees that there's a wheel within a wheel, and it was as noisy as 1,000 waterfalls and things like that. So you have to ask yourself, wait a second, were these just visions? Did it all just happen in somebody's head because, they drank too much or they smoked one or two substances? That to me is insulting the intelligence of our ancestors. Our ancestors commemorated these things because they knew whatever they were observing was not ordinary. It was extraordinary because they lived in nature. They were way closer to nature than we will ever be in this day and age. I mean, they lived in nature. I mean, they had no shelter in the earliest of days. They had to find shelter. They had to, find food, hunter-gatherers. And so when you have the earliest of petroglyphs that have very strange beings in them, you have to wonder, well, how did they come up with this if there was nothing to base this upon? Because any psychiatrist or psychologist will tell you that you can't come up with a story unless you have a basis for it. And where is the basis at the beginning of history? There is no basis. We have a basis today, but back then there was no cumulative knowledge to draw from.
Giorgio Tsoukalos, thanks for joining us today. Ancient Aliens airs Friday at 9 Eastern, 8 Central on History Channel, and episodes available to stream the next day. For tour dates and tickets to Ancient Aliens Live, you got to check out ancientalienslive.tour.com. Giorgio, thanks for hanging out with me this morning.
Wonderful, Dan, and I can't wait to do it again next time. Thank you.
Ever feel like your eyes get tired faster than they used to, especially on a screen? A lot of people in their 40s and 50s notice changes and assume it's just aging, but many of these issues are treatable. Joining us is Dr. Ashley Brissett, an ophthalmologist, with the 4 questions you should be asking your eye doctor in 2026. Welcome, Dr. Brissett. It's nice to see you.
Thanks for having me.
She missed my joke, but that's okay. We're going to keep it moving. They'll get better as we go, I promise.
I can't wait.
So when people move into their 40s and 50s, what vision changes are most common, and what's something that they should not be brushing off?
Yeah, I mean, it's very common for our vision to change and even start to deteriorate as we get into our 40s and 50s. So the first thing that happens is something called presbyopia, which is this normal aging change where it's difficult to see up close. So that's when you start to hold things further out to be able to keep it in focus, or maybe even need better lighting to be able to see. And then as we get into our 50s, 60s, and older is when we start to develop cataract. And cataract is a normal aging change. It happens to everybody. Everybody will get cataracts in their lifetime. It can make things cloudy at all distances, but it's nothing to really be afraid of. We have lots of modern day solutions to help you see better no matter what your vision concerns are.
Okay. Cataract comes up a lot. Is it true that pretty much everyone develops cataracts eventually?
It's so true. Yeah. So it's, again, just a normal aging change. And, our old thinking was we would tell patients to wait until cataracts were mature or ripe before exploring options for a surgery to help you see better. But really, modern day cataract surgery is a very safe, very effective surgery with a quick recovery. And when I take out the cataract, I can put inside the eye what's called an intraocular lens. And we have premium lens technology now, like the Technis family from Johnson & Johnson Vision, which can give you a great natural range of vision. So it can help you see clearly far away, your computer, and up close, all in one, to decrease your dependence on glasses. And I have patients who even say that they've never had vision this good in their entire lives as they do after their cataract surgery. So it can be a great option to help you see better.
That sounds awesome. For everyday vision correction, especially with our screen time, what solutions can help people see clearly and stay comfortable?
Yeah, I mean, if you're not ready for something like a cataract surgery yet, a great option can instead be a modern day contact lens. So that's one like the AccuView. That's a lens that also gives you that range of vision for distance, computer, and up close. What's nice is you're not going off and on with the reading glasses at all times. You don't need to have them all over your house anymore or in every single bag. And if you're using screens a lot, which I think we all are nowadays, they won't worsen your digital device strain at all. So you can wear them comfortably, and then you can see comfortably at all distances. So it's a really great option.
For our viewers out there that have their notebook and they're writing down questions because they're getting ready to go see their eye doctor, what are some key questions they should be asking?
Yeah, I mean, definitely make sure you're making an appointment to see your eye doctor once a year. It's really important to have that comprehensive eye exam. We can pick up any eye diseases at that visit, but we can also tell a lot about your total body health. So I can examine someone's eyes and tell if they have high blood pressure, diabetes, even autoimmune conditions. So it's a really important part of preventative healthcare to make sure you're getting your yearly eye exam. And then when you're there, speak to your eye doctor about your visual concerns. So whether it has to do with driving or work or reading, we have options, and we want to create a customized plan for you. So whether it be the AccuView contact lenses or maybe the Technis intraocular lens and cataract surgery, we can help you see better.
So Dr. Ashley Brissett, question, for more information, where can people go?
Oh, yeah. So I usually refer my patients to two websites. The first is clearvisionforyou.com, and the second is accuview.com. Lots of great information there.
Great. Thank you so much for all of that helpful information, Dr. Brissett. We'll see you next time.
Thank you. See you next time.
And that is it for Rise and Unwind. I want to thank you for tuning in and checking out the show. We are at Rise Unwind on both Facebook and Instagram. You can see some of the behind the scenes of making the show and meet the cats that are hanging out on the set. And until next week, that was the show we like to call Rise and Unwind.